Welcome to this webinar of the National Science Agenda, the Nationale Wetenschapsagenda in Dutch. We are really pleased to see so many people attending this online event. And the aim of this event is to inform you about the way in which you can set up a consortium to submit a proposal for one of the 25 routes that we have in the National Science Agenda. I'm Anita Harden, and I'm responsible for the National Science Agenda in the Executive Board of NWO. And I'm also a researcher like you. I'm a professor of global health at the University of Amsterdam. Some of you may not have experience with the National Science Agenda, and for that reason, it's really good to participate in one of the breakout sessions today. The instrument may seem complex because it's a new way of doing research. The aim of the agenda is to have scientific excellence linked to questions from society. So in the past, we have asked people, different organizations, different platforms in society, what their main research questions are, which delivered us around 12,000 questions, which have all been sorted into different routes. So the National Science Agenda allows you to submit proposals on a broad range of questions, and they allow you to do research, which is important for you, but also to feed back research to society to answer societal questions. And for that purpose, there's also an aspect of the program, which is that we expect some societal organizations. This can be private companies, this can be municipalities, this can be organizations of citizens to participate in your project. And also for you to be clear about how your research will feed back into the work they do. So this is a challenge, and we hope today that you will get a better idea of how that can be organized and how you can submit proposals that will make a chance in this round of funding. I hope you have a very nice day. I would now like to hand over the virtual microphone to Wiebe Bijker, who is the chair of the committee and also emeritus professor of the University of Maastricht. He's chair of the committee where proposals are reviewed, so he knows much more than I do about how this instrument works. I hand it over to Wiebe. Wiebe.
Good afternoon. My name is Wiebe Bijker. I am chair of the selection committee and emeritus professor at Maastricht University. In 2017, Dutch society adopted the National Research Agenda. Within this National Research Agenda, the largest program is the NWA-ORC, which combines all scientific disciplines from the humanities to the social and behavioral sciences and the natural and technical and medical sciences. It covers both fundamental and applied research, and it addresses questions that are generated from within science as well as from society. The NWA and the NWA-ORC are unique in the world. The Dutch National Research Agenda was created between 2014 and 2016. Citizens, unions, business, municipalities, everyone could ask questions. More than 11,000 questions were raised. In a complicated process, they were confined to 25 routes and 140 cluster questions. The government then decided to spend an extra 130 million euros per year to execute this National Research Agenda. The NWA-ORC is research along routes by Consortia. It's meant to answer these questions that were formulated within the National Research Agenda It is truly interdisciplinary. It is carried out by consortia, and the consortia allow us to join strength from the whole breadth of Dutch knowledge society, so not only universities, but also other partners. And it should lead to scientific and or societal breakthroughs. This means new opportunities for us, scientific community knowledge workers in the Netherlands. I like to think about the NWA as a new social contract between science and society. It has led, there are indications that it has led to increased trust by the population, by the populace, by people in the Netherlands in science. Extra funding was devoted to research, and in return, science will try to answer these questions that are the backbone of the NWA. Another opportunity is that the program, the NWA-ORC program, offers possibilities for really long-term, socially embedded team research. Large budgets are possible, up to 10 million euros. Long-term research is possible up to 8 years. The broad knowledge chain involving universities, HBO, polytechnics, and other research institutes in the Netherlands is possible. And everything should happen in a productive interaction with societal actors. Those last 2 points mean that not only universities can apply, but that whole, it's a long page in the appendix of the call for this year that lists all the institutes that can apply and that really cover the width of the knowledge chain. The productive interaction with societal actors means that researchers and knowledge users from the beginning actively think about how to collaborate and how to design and execute the research. But in addition to new opportunities, it also brings new responsibilities for us as scientists and scholars. Oops, that is one click too many. Sorry, I have to click. Here we are. The main responsibility is that now we as scientists and scholars should give answers back to the Netherlands. We should think about knowledge utilization, integrate that in the design of our projects, and we should work towards breakthroughs. And a breakthrough we have operationalized as coming even after the impact. So output is your publications, your patents. Outcomes come after that, and they hopefully constitute changes in social behavior. And even after that, and that is far beyond the time limits of most of our research projects, we hope that there will be an impact on science. That could be a paradigm switch, or an impact on society, and those are the more, well, the really sort of structural changes in society. All that could lead to a breakthrough. Now, to operationalize, I'll talk further about social embeddedness. The whole idea of the National Science Agenda is to make science serviceable to society. That means that not only that whole knowledge chain should be part of our projects, but also co-creation and co-design, meaning that from the very beginning, the design phase of projects, researchers will work together with the knowledge users, and also later in the execution of the research. The knowledge utilization means that we have operationalized that in specifying that every project should use one of two approaches. The first approach is the impact plan approach, and the second is the impact outlook approach. In the next presentation, Farsha Kapoorjan will give you more details, but the rough summary is this: that in both cases, This productive interaction is crucial between researchers and the knowledge users. But then the differences start. In the case of the impact plan approach, the clear aim is to work towards a change in society, while in the impact outlook approach, the aim is to work towards a scientific change only. For example, think of gravitational waves or the origin of the cosmos. That type of research is part of the NWA, but it is weird to expect a societal change as a follow-up of such projects. The aim of the social plan approach is to really work towards that social change, while in the impact outlook approach, we want to stimulate research, and we ask them to specify how they shape that, to be prepared for opportunities to engage the public and to involve the public in communicating about their research, for example. In the first case, the knowledge utilization is integrated in the design, and in the second case, the knowledge utilization is sort of on the backbench, but we expect researchers to be actively trying to engage with the outside public to tell them about their research. We expect that the impact plan approach will be used by most researchers, most consortia. Most routes ask for that kind of impact planning, and only a few routes and a few NWA questions ask for an impact outlook approach. You as applicants are asked to make a choice, but we as a selection committee will evaluate that choice, and we may advise you to make a different choice. In the full proposal stage, so not now in the pre-proposal, but in the full proposal stage, you will use a different form depending on whether you follow the plan or the outlook approach. Drawing on the experience of the previous years, I have one slide that summarizes the strong points of pre-proposals, call it tips and tricks for you, but formulated in a positive way. A clear relationship between this whole chain of points in the argument. First, the kind of route and the cluster question that you will be addressing. How does that relate to the mission or the core question of your research? How is that mission translated in the research question? How can you argue that that research question requires this specific consortium and asks for a specific set of methods? How then, assuming that the method will produce scientific knowledge, how that knowledge will be used, and how do you plan to interact with knowledge users, and how do you hope that that in the end, after you finish your research, will work towards a breakthrough? It's not a strength to have as many disciplines in your project as possible. We will evaluate whether you have all the adequate expertise and disciplines on board that you need for that long chain of arguments that I just listed in the first bullet. And if you have added the disciplines that we don't see really have a function, then that will sort of be criticized. And of course, if you miss out an important discipline, that will also be remarked. The breadth of the knowledge chain should thus fit your research question and the aims that you have with the research. Interdisciplinarity and transdisciplinarity. With transdisciplinarity, I mean collaboration with knowledge actors outside the classic scientific disciplines. So interdisciplinary and transdisciplinarity is not only evaluated by checking whether you have the right actors in the consortium. We also want to see how you are going to involve them. So just mentioning a patient organization isn't enough if you do not also show how they play a role in the larger project. That is that productive engagement with knowledge users and social partners. And of course, this is an NWO call. It is always important that the scientific question is original, that the plan to solve that scientific question, answer that scientific question is convincing, and that we understand how you hope that it will lead to a breakthrough. Now, one slide on application pressure, or in Dutch, de aanvraagdruk. We are all very worried about too high an application pressure as research community, but also in NWO. We can't make more money. We don't want to say don't apply, because we really believe that this is, I really believe that this is a worthwhile program, and we hope to attract very good research and consortia. But it is important that you choose your funding instrument wisely. There are other funding instruments within NWO, as most of you know, but some are just more fit for your research than NWA-ORC. NWA-ORC doesn't fit every project. Proposals will be assessed for precisely addressing the particular route and that cluster question. The proposals will be assessed for how well that breadth of the knowledge chain is covered and how convincingly you exploit the interdisciplinary setup of your consortium. And the proposals will be assessed on how well you have outlined your impact plan or your outlook plan. If you have any doubts about whether your project fits NWA, then don't hesitate to call and ask advice. And you will probably end up with Varsha, whom you will meet in a minute. To finish, the very idea of NWA-ORC is to stimulate research and innovation aimed at the 25 NWA routes and 140 cluster questions. It aims at scientific and/or societal breakthroughs by joining all the strength that we have in the Netherlands in our knowledge society in consortia, to do this through interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research that will involve the full width of the knowledge chain, including fundamental and applied research. And that will do that in collaboration with societal parties, which could include business. That all would result in knowledge utilization through a well-argued impact plan or outlook plan. Let me finish by encouraging you to ask questions to NWO if you have any further questions. And with that, I hand over this clicker that caused me a little bit of trouble. I wish you good luck to Varsha.
Thank you, Wiebe. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Varsha Kapurchan, and I'm the coordinator of the ORC 2020-21 round. So Wiebe has told you about the thoughts behind the NWA, what we're looking for in a good proposal, and in the coming 30 minutes or so I will take you through the practical part, namely preparing for submitting your proposal. Before I start, I would like to mention that all the information I will give you now can also be found in our call for proposals, which is on the website, and we will make this PowerPoint presentation also available through our website after the webinar. So let me just start with pointing out that we have 3 phases in this funding round. The initiative phase, the pre-proposal phase, and the full proposal phase. And in each phase, you submit a more elaborate version of your project proposal. So the initiative phase has a deadline of the 1st of October at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And there we ask for short description of your research idea and an indication of your consortium partners, but that's not necessary yet. And after that, you write a pre-proposal, you submit it before the 14th of January in 2021, again at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And there you already elaborate more on your research idea, your consortium partners, and the breakthroughs you aim to achieve. Finally, we have the full proposal stage, for which the deadline is June next year. And there you write your project down with every details in the full scope. I do have to mention that these phases are interdependent, so you have to submit an initiative before you submit a pre-proposal, and if you have not submitted a pre-proposal, you cannot submit the full proposal. We have a budget of 132 million euros for this round. This is higher than we had in previous years, and that is due to the COVID-19 situations where funding rounds were delayed, and we decided to condense the planned 3 funding rounds we had in the coming period to 2, and each with 1.5 times the budget we have. So that explains the higher budget. And maybe adding to Wiebe's reflection on when you should submit. If we go by the previous round, so the 2018 round and the 2019 round, which is still in progress, we have about 25% of the pre-proposals that continue to the full proposal stage, and of that full proposals, about 20% gets granted. So it's not to discourage you from submitting, but I just want to paint for you the complete picture. Having said that, you can apply for a project in one of 3 budget ranges, ranging from very small to very large. You can see it on the slide. And we don't have allocate the total budget in advance over the 3 budget ranges. We aim for a similar granting rate between the 3 budget ranges, so it should not matter for your success rate whether you apply for a smaller project or a very large project. You can apply for a variety of costs. I will not point them all out, but I do want to point out here the citizen science aspect. It is possible to apply for a cost related to involving citizens in your research or in your project, because of course that really fits the goals of the NWA, where we want to connect science and society. It's mandatory for everyone to include a project management part in your budget, because we really want that every project that we fund is also managed quite well. And my clicker, yeah, there it is. So at the end of my presentation, I will give you a time schedule for the whole round, but now I want to point out what's important to pay attention to in the coming procedure. As I already mentioned, we have a mandatory initiative phase, and basically that gives you a networking opportunity because we will publish the initiatives online. Parties interested in joining your consortium that are not involved yet in an initiative can either contact you if you have published your contact details, and otherwise they can contact us and we will bring them into contact with you. So it gives you the opportunity to maybe expand your consortium with parties you maybe didn't think about, or maybe you could merge with another initiative if you're aiming for a similar breakthrough. And connected to that initiative phase is a matchmaking meeting. So if you have submitted an initiative, it is mandatory to attend a matchmaking meeting for the primary NWA route you have indicated. And again, this is again a network opportunity, but there's also different goals connected to it. For instance, to meet the management of the NWA route, to connect to their network and to get familiar with their agenda. But also there you can meet both the submitters of other initiatives, but also other parties who may be interested in joining an initiative, because the meetings are open basically to everyone. And for the pre-proposal, compared to last year, we've made it lighter administratively speaking, because we don't ask for budget details yet. So you don't have to have in January already your specified budget ready. You don't have to have a specific support letter from your co-financers ready. The only things we ask for is that you indicate in which budget range you are, and we ask you to supply a statement of intent from your co-financers in which they indicate that they are interested to work together, but we don't have to know yet how much they are going to contribute to your proposal. So next I'm going to take you through the 3 steps and what you have to prepare for that. So again, the initiative is mandatory for participating in the rest of the procedure. The submission form is on our website. You complete it, you indicate a few things. We should have received it before the deadline. And as I already mentioned, all initiatives are published online. And by the end of October, beginning of November, you have to participate in the matchmaking meeting of your primary NWA route. Then we get to the pre-proposal. The deadline there is in January. Again, you can only submit a pre-proposal if you have previously submitted an initiative. And some things on your pre-proposal have to be the same as on your initiative, namely the main applicant, the main NWA route you will connect to, and the cluster question you will address. And there again, you complete the application form, you add the mandatory attachment, and you submit it via our electronic application system, ISAC. All details can be found on the website. Then we get to the full proposal, and again, you cannot submit a full proposal if you have not submitted the pre-proposal previously. And again, some things have to remain the same. Apart from the main applicant, the main NWA route, and the main cluster question, also we ask that the budget range is the same as on the pre-proposal. And again, you complete the application form, you add mandatory attachment, and if applicable, also the optional attachments. And we should have received your proposal before the deadline. Otherwise, we will not take it into consideration. And then what happens after you have submitted a proposal? We have a selection committee in place. Wiebe is the chair of that. These committees are organized by clusters of NWA routes that fit together. So we make stacks of the applications we receive, and each stack or each cluster gets a separate selection committee. And these will then judge the applications in their stack. This means that the committee assesses proposals in different budget ranges, but the requirements for all proposals are the same, so that should not be a problem. And even if the committee is maybe not science-wide, but a bit smaller in terms of expertise, it still is a diverse audience. So you have to write your proposal for that diverse audience, both for experts and for people who may not know the ins and outs of your field. And this committee consists of experts from the full breadth of the knowledge chain, but also of people from practice, so societal parties, companies, NGOs, etc. So that we can make sure that all aspects of all proposals are judged, are well judged. And again, I already mentioned that we aim for a similar granting rate for each budget range, but we have not allocated the budget in advance over the clusters. And then what happens, I will not, I hope you can all read the slide because the letters are a bit small, but I will not go through all selection criteria. I just want to mention that we have the pre-proposals will be assessed by two criteria. The main criterion here is the alignment with the objectives of the ORC program. And you can read them. You can read some aspects there. For a full explanation of all criteria, I redirect you to the call for proposals, which is online. But still, while the fit with the ORC program is the main criterion here, still we also look at the scientific relevance because, as Wiebe already told you, we are NWO and we're still looking for excellent, innovative, groundbreaking science. So even this part is still important. The committee assesses these pre-proposals without consulting referees, and the assessment will result in an advice on your pre-proposal. And after that, we go to the full proposal stage. There we have 3 assessment criteria. Still, the alignment with the ORC program is a criterion, although smaller than in the pre-proposals. And the other criteria are the quality of your consortium and the quality of your research proposal. And each criteria has the same weight. There we consult the referees for assessing the proposals. You get the chance to give a reply to the referee reports. It's what we call the rebuttal. And then the assessment committee gets the whole package of your proposal, the referee reports, the rebuttal, and we'll assess that in what we call the interview selection stage. And there a part of the proposal will be invited for the interview. And a part will not be invited for the interview. And for that group, actually, the assessment procedure is finished. So the part that will be invited to the interviews will get an interview with the committee, where they can, again, explain their proposal, answer questions from the committee, and then a part of the consortia that came for an interview will be granted in the end. This all will take place in the coming 1.5 years. So in this scheme, you will see all the deadlines in October, January, and June. You will see when you will get, when you will hear something from us on either your full proposal or your pre-proposal. And we expect that by the beginning of 2022, we can send you the decision on your proposal, so there you know whether you will be granted or not. And this was basically my general introduction, but I do want to mention something about the knowledge utilization part. It is important in this round because of the fact that we want ORC projects to realize or to aim for breakthroughs. And we will already mentioned a bit about it, but I would like to explain to you how this works in practice. So here you will find the NWA definition of knowledge utilization, and this definition basically is the basis for the way we use it in our proposals. If we look at the Dutch research agenda, we see that the cluster questions asked, or the questions asked, in it have a different character. Some are aimed at gaining knowledge. For instance, there's a question like, is there life outside Earth? Others are really aiming towards a change in society. For instance, a question like, how do we realize a real circular economy? And because of the different characters of these questions, we chose to implement 2 impact approaches in the ORC call to do justice to the breadth of this Dutch research agenda. So if you address a cluster question that is mainly or that is aimed at societal breakthrough or societal change, then you use the impact plan approach. And if you address a cluster question that is mainly aimed at gaining knowledge and may lead to societal impact, but your focus is on gaining knowledge, then you choose the impact outlook approach. But even in that impact outlook approach, you still keep your eyes open during the project for unforeseen opportunities that may lead to this societal impact or societal change. I do want to point out, that's very important, that there is no preference at all in the assessment. So even if you choose the impact outlook or the impact the impact plan approach, one is not valued more than the other. They're similar in their own right. With each of the approaches, you can get a good score for your proposal. What's most important here is that the approach that you choose fits your proposal and your intended breakthroughs. And again, all projects should show productive interaction. So you should clearly show that you've involved all consortium partners in all stages of your project. So formulating your research questions, determining the approach that you should use, and realizing the intended breakthroughs. And basically, whatever approach you choose, the fact that you write it down is basically helping you when your project gets granted to get started, to realize the breakthroughs. You use it as a basis when you start your project, and during the time of your project, you can look at it again, maybe adjust it, but still it is it helps you to get where you want to get with your project. So how does this work in practice? In a pre-proposal, you just indicate which approach you want to choose, so either impact plan or impact outlook, and you have to substantiate that. And the assessment committee assesses that, may advise you to choose another approach, and in the full proposal, you elaborate on the chosen approach, you react to the comments made by the selection committee. We organize a training for everyone who is going to write a full proposal next year to explain more about the specific approaches. We also organize training for the committee members so that they know how they should assess these approaches. And as both approaches have different elements in them, we work with two separate application forms. And maybe a little bit more detail about the impact plan approach. So again, as I said, you use this approach when you aim for societal change. And then you should describe in your proposal how this research process contributes to the societal impact, and then you take into account underlying assumptions, the context, or the parties involved. And you should also visualize that process. We have templates for that available, but basically this is meant to give you an idea of what this approach entails. And there are specific activities that you should include in your plans, and you can also ask for budget for those activities. And if we then go to the impact outlook approach, again, that as I've said, that applies to a project that pursue those scientific breakthroughs, but not directly aimed at achieving a societal change. But still, we ask you to describe a vision for this short or long-term possible societal impact, and how you will make sure that during the project you will keep an eye on unforeseen opportunities that may lead to societal impact. And again, you can apply for budget for the activities that you need in this approach. And I think that I'm almost at the end of my presentation. So a lot of the information I told you, you can also find online. You can also send me an email or call me for more information. And we also will have in a few minutes a Q&A session in which you can join. You have received a separate link for that. And there you can ask questions to either me or one of my colleagues, and they will be happy to answer your questions. I will take the opportunity here, I think I have enough time, to already answer some questions we received in advance. And they were asked quite frequently, so I think I will help a lot of people with this. So the first question I received is people asking what are the differences between this round and the 2019 round. And actually, we've already told you, but I will summarize them. We ask for more focus on also the cluster questions, in addition to the NWA routes. We have introduced the impact plan approach or the impact outlook approach. So basically a different way of implementing knowledge utilization in the projects. We have added matchmaking meetings, which are mandatory. There is a non-binding advice instead of a decision on the pre-proposals. And we have made a pre-proposal simpler, or less work at least. So that's the first question. A second question I heard a lot is people asking what's the difference with the KIC program of NWO. That program has recently started as well. And they are similar in some ways, and the differences are sometimes in the details. But the main difference is that the KIC program is really aimed at using innovation to improve the earning capacity, verdienvermogen in Dutch, in the Netherlands. And connected to that, we ask for a large commitment of companies. So if that's important in your proposal and you can get that large commitment of your companies, then maybe the KIC program suits you better than the NWA-ORC program. But still, if you have doubts, of course, you can always contact us and we can help you a little bit on your way. A lot of the other questions I already addressed, so I explained about the impact approaches. There's many people asking whether the budget is allocated in advance. Well, it's not. Not over NWA routes, not over clusters, not over budget ranges. We have a budget, but we don't know how we're going to allocate it yet. And also some questions asking about from people that still have an application running in the 2019 round and ask whether they still can apply in this 2020-21 round. And the answer is yes, you can. But you still have to submit an initiative before the 1st of October at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's really mandatory for getting to the next phase. So you do have to submit your initiative, although you don't know what your result will be. And then you can, of course, write your pre-proposal and so on. But I also would like to advise you to have a good look again at the call for proposals, as some things have changed. For instance, the additional focus necessary on the cluster questions. So don't just copy-paste your proposal from 2019 to 2020. And two final questions, whether knowledge institutes or companies from abroad can participate, and there again the answer is yes. Researchers from foreign countries can participate, for instance, via the Money Follows Cooperation scheme, where they are mentioned as co-applicants on the proposal and then can receive funds from NWO. There are some requirements for that, and we do not support researchers from every country. For instance, we don't support countries if there's international sanctions in place. But for the details on that, I would like to point you to section 6.2 of the call for proposals. There it's explained in detail. And the final question I saw a lot, if there's a specific requirements for instance, the size on the consortium or the number of knowledge institutions that should participate. And we don't have such requirements. What most important is for us is that you compose a consortium that really fits your proposal best. So you should have all relevant disciplines in place, all relevant societal parties that could be important for realizing the intended breakthroughs and so on. So it's not about the size, but about the fit to your project. And with that, I hope I already have answered a lot of questions from you. If not, please join us in the Q&A sessions. You've received a separate link for that, so go there. I think it will be in 10 minutes. Oh, half an hour, so we have a lot of time yet. With that, I thank you for listening to at least this first part, and I wish you all the best in preparing for submitting in this NWA-ORC round. Thank you.